We're counting down the 10 most mind-bending mega projects transforming life on Earth right now. From futuristic cities in the desert and world-first artificial suns, to canals rerouting entire rivers and land bridges, rewiring global trade, these projects push the limits of engineering, ambition, and even politics. Each one is changing how nations move, power up, compete, and who shapes the routes of the future. Which project ranks as the boldest? Let's begin with number 1. In the desert of northwest Saudi Arabia, a single line of ambition stretches across the sand. The line is the world's most radical city concept, planned as a 170 kilometers long urban corridor for 9 million people. This is no ordinary skyline. Instead, it is a continuous megastructure, stacked with homes, offices, and parks in vertical layers, promising zero carbon living and powered entirely by renewables. Saudi Arabia's rulers pitch it as a leap beyond oil, anchoring vision, 2030's drive to diversify the kingdom's economy and capture global tech investment. NEOM's special legal zone, with its own rules and courts, is designed to lure foreign companies and reimagine how cities govern themselves. But behind the shimmering renderings, reality bites. Official plans remain bold, yet construction has slowed. In 2025, the Saudi Public Investment Fund wrote down $8 billion in NEOM assets and suspended core work on the line, scaling back the initial phase to just 2.4 kilometers. The government insists the full 170 kilometers will rise by 2045, but engineers now focus on smaller segments and the Oxagon port. Controversy shadows the project. The Hawatat tribe, whose ancestral lands lie in the path of the line, report forced evictions and meager compensation, with non-governmental organizations documenting hundreds of families displaced. Saudi officials say moves are voluntary and promise new jobs, but critics raise alarms about consent and lost livelihoods. For now, the line stands as both a symbol of limitless vision and a test of whether a city can be built from the ground up, not just with concrete and steel, but with the trust of those who must call it home. In the fields of southern France, an extraordinary machine is taking shape, one that could change the world's energy story. ITER, the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, stands as the most ambitious fusion experiment ever attempted. Its heart is a 30-meter wide tokamak designed to confine plasma hotter than the sun, aiming to generate 500 megawatts of fusion power from just 50 megawatts of input, 10 times the energy put in. The scale of the challenge is matched only by the scale of its partnership. 35 nations, including the European Union, Japan, China, India, Russia, South Korea, and the United States, have joined forces under a single governance structure. Together, they have poured over 25 billion euros into the project, with construction underway since 2010. But ambition comes with obstacles. Quality failures in critical components, like the beryllium first wall panels and superconducting magnets, have triggered delays and cost overruns, pushing schedules to the limit. The official target for first plasma is December 2025, a milestone that now hangs on phased assembly and intense diplomatic pressure to avoid slipping into the next decade. Each part, from the vacuum vessel to the central solenoid, arrives from a different corner of the globe, demanding near-perfect coordination. Internal council minutes reveal hard bargaining between partners as delays threaten to erode trust and momentum. Despite setbacks, every new installation, every successful test brings ITER closer to proving fusion at scale. For its backers, the project stands as proof that scientific diplomacy can endure even when politics falter. ITER is not just a reactor, it is a bet on a future where energy is abundant, clean, and shared across borders. On the island of Borneo, bulldozers and survey teams are carving out the future heart of Indonesia. Nusantara, the new capital, is rising on a site of 256,000 hectares in East Kalimantan, 6 times the size of Singapore. This is no mere vanity project. It is a national response to a sinking crisis. Jakarta, crowded with over 30 million people, is collapsing under its own weight. Chronic flooding, traffic gridlock, and land subsidence threaten daily life and government functions. The relocation plan calls for moving 1.3 million civil servants by the end of the decade, with the first government core opening in 2024. The master plan promises a green city powered by renewables and woven into the rainforest, but the reality on the ground is more complicated. Dayak communities who have lived in these forests for generations are negotiating land pacts as bulldozers clear the way. Environmental impact assessments warn that up to 14,000 hectares of forest could be lost, disrupting wildlife corridors and threatening rare species. Activists document illegal clearances and press for stronger protections, while government officials tout new jobs, 400,000 by 2045, and a chance to rebalance development away from overcrowded Java. The cost is at least $32 billion, with funding from state budgets and foreign investors. For Indonesia, Nusantara is more than a new city. It is an attempt to re-engineer the nation's geography, politics, and future, testing whether a capital can be built without sacrificing the land and people who call it home. Steel-shielded tunnel boring machines dig deep beneath Japan's southern Alps, carving a new line between Tokyo and Nagoya. The Chuo Shinkansen is no ordinary high-speed rail. This is the world's first superconducting maglev, designed to float trains at 500 kilometers per hour through a route that is nearly 90% underground. The goal is to cut the journey to just 40 minutes, slashing the time it takes to cross Japan's industrial heartland and promising a leap beyond even the legendary bullet trains. But ambition comes at a cost. The first phase, 286 kilometers to Nagoya, carries a price tag of $55 billion, with construction slowed by some of the most complex tunneling ever attempted. Nowhere is the challenge sharper than in Shizuoka Prefecture. For years, local officials blocked progress, citing fears that tunneling would drain the precious Oi River aquifer, a lifeline for farms and cities downstream. JR Central, the project's developer, faced public hearings, technical reviews, and mounting pressure to prove that water supplies would not be threatened. In 2024, after a change in prefectural leadership, limited preliminary work finally resumed, but the core dispute over water management remains unresolved. Engineers are racing to develop solutions that can satisfy both speed and sustainability, even as costs and timelines remain in flux. The Chuo Shinkansen stands as a test of how far a nation will go to redefine distance and what must be bargained away in the pursuit of speed. The promise of maglev technology is real, but so are the environmental and social costs that come with tunneling beneath a densely populated landscape. As construction inches forward, the world watches to see if Japan can deliver the next chapter in high-speed mobility without sacrificing the resources that sustain its communities. Water scarcity defines the future for hundreds of millions across northern China. The South-North Water Transfer Project answers that crisis with a feat of engineering on a scale the world has never seen. 2 vast canals, one stretching 1,400 kilometers from the Yangtze Basin eastward, the other running 1,700 kilometers north from the Danjiangkou Reservoir. Together, these arteries move nearly 45 billion cubic meters of water every year, enough to supply Beijing, Tianjin, and dozens of parched cities that once faced chronic shortages. The system's full span is 25 times longer than the Suez Canal, but this solution comes at a price. Over $80 billion has been spent since the project was approved in 2002, with the first phases operating since 2013 and 2014. The cost is not just financial. Along the central route, 345,000 people were relocated to make way for new reservoirs and flood zones. Many families left behind farms and fishing grounds, entering a future where promised prosperity often failed to materialize. Surveys by state media and independent researchers show that 1/3 of those resettled lost significant income, while government figures claim most are better off. The reality is tangled. Some communities have rebuilt, others struggle with poverty and broken livelihoods. For China's leaders, the transfer is survival infrastructure, a national plumbing system that keeps cities running and fields green. Yet the project also stirs tension between provinces over who gets water and at what social cost as new expansions move forward. The question remains, can engineering alone solve scarcity, or does every drop carry a hidden price? Just outside Austin, a new kind of factory sprawls across the Texas plains, Giga Texas, Tesla's answer to the future of American manufacturing. 10 million square feet under roof, nearly 5 square kilometers of floor space, all dedicated to building electric vehicles and batteries at a scale few have attempted. This is the home of the Cybertruck, the Model Y, and soon one of the world's largest battery facilities, set to expand even further by 2025. The numbers are as bold as the architecture. Over 5,000 people already work here, with hiring targets climbing as new lines come online. Robots glide down assembly lanes, welding, painting, and fitting parts with a precision that has become Tesla's hallmark. But behind the glass and steel, the story is also about incentives and politics. Texas and Travis County offered $2.8 billion in tax breaks and abatements to lure Tesla away from rival states, one of the largest subsidy packages in recent United States history. Local commissioners split along party lines, some touting job creation and economic spillover, others questioning the wisdom of such generous public support for a private giant. Inside the plant, OSHA logs show the pressures of high-speed production. Safety complaints rise as output ramps up, with workers pushing to unionize and watchdogs tracking every incident. Yet for many, Giga Texas is a symbol of American industry, fighting back, clustering suppliers and logistics in a single hub to compete with China's EV juggernaut. Here, manufacturing isn't just about cars. It's about who leads the next era of mobility and who reaps the rewards of a reshaped supply chain. Between Denmark and Germany, a new passage is taking shape beneath the Baltic Sea. The Fehmarn Belt fixed link has been under construction since 2021. The project's engineering core lies in the massive casting yard at Rodbyhaven, where 79 tunnel elements, each weighing 73,000 tons, are being fabricated. When complete, it will be the world's longest immersed tunnel, 18 kilometers of concrete and steel, carrying both rail and road, designed to connect Scandinavia directly to continental Europe. By 2025, 10 elements are expected to be complete, with immersion scheduled to begin the following year. Every segment must pass rigorous quality checks. In 2024, a concrete mix error flagged by quality assurance logs forced a redesign, but project managers moved quickly to mitigate the setback, keeping the timeline from slipping further. The tunnel's price tag stands at 8.7 billion euros, funded by Danish and European Union sources as part of the Trans-European Transport Network. When finished, it will cut the Copenhagen to Hamburg rail journey from nearly 5 hours to under 3, slashing freight times across the region. For factories in Sweden, Denmark, and Germany, this corridor promises faster trade and more reliable logistics, linking supply chains from the Nordics to the heart of Europe. But the schedule remains under pressure. Reports from 2025 suggest the original 2029 opening could slip as environmental permitting and technical hurdles test even the most experienced builders. With only a fraction of the tunnel elements cast so far, and immersion yet to begin, the Fehmarn Belt fixed link stands as both an engineering marvel and a race against time. It could redraw the map of European mobility if it can reach the finish line. On the outskirts of Istanbul, plans for a new waterway have stirred fierce debate. Canal Istanbul is a proposed 45-kilometer canal running parallel to the Bosphorus, pitched as a second route for ships between the Black Sea and the Sea of Marmara. Turkish leaders present it as a strategic upgrade, promising to ease congestion, reduce accident risk in the Bosphorus, and strengthen Turkey's control over critical trade flows. The official cost projection is above $15 billion, and government blueprints envision new bridges, ports, and satellite cities along the route. Yet the project is delayed and politically contested. After the 2023 elections, financing talks with Qatar collapsed, and parliamentary inquiries revealed deep skepticism about the economic case. Opposition parties and city officials warn of a potential $75 billion economic hit from increased flood risk and lost agricultural land. Lawsuits filed in 2024 challenged the government's environmental impact assessment, citing threats to Istanbul's freshwater reservoirs and the Black Sea ecosystem. Scientists warned that altering water flows could trigger saltwater intrusion, endangering drinking supplies for millions. NGOs and professional associations, including the Chamber of Architects, have mobilized against the canal, calling it a contested bypass that could reshape the city's future for the worse. At the heart of the controversy lies geopolitics. Canal Istanbul could test the boundaries of the Montreux Convention, which has governed Black Sea passage since 1936, and that raises questions about military access and insurance costs for global shipping. For now, the canal stands as a symbol of ambition, colliding with environmental, financial, and political realities. A megaproject whose fate remains anything but certain. 55 kilometers of concrete, steel, and ambition now stretch across the mouth of the Pearl River Delta, linking Hong Kong, Zhuhai, and Macau with the world's longest sea crossing. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai and Macau Bridge Tunnel, opened in 2018, stands as a living proof of what cross-border mega projects can deliver when vision meets execution. At peak, the bridge tunnel system handles up to 400,000 vehicles a day, transforming what was once a 3-hour ferry trip into a seamless drive of under an hour. Customs and immigration checks, once a tangle of bureaucracy, have been streamlined into one-stop facilities, smoothing the flow of goods and people through a region that generates over $1.6 trillion in annual GDP. Construction demanded not just engineering prowess, but coordination across 3 jurisdictions with distinct laws and currencies. The hybrid structure, part bridge, part undersea tunnel, part artificial island, cost more than $20 billion and required nearly a decade to complete. Engineers faced typhoon winds, busy shipping lanes, and the challenge of laying tunnel segments beneath deep waters, all while keeping ports and trade humming. For the Greater Bay Area, the payoff is clear. The bridge tunnel has fueled economic clustering, reinforcing the region's role as a global manufacturing and logistics powerhouse. Yet the project also carries a sovereignty edge. It tightens economic ties even as political differences remain unresolved. In a world where infrastructure decides who moves, who trades, and who thrives, the Hong Kong-Zhuhai and Macau Bridge Tunnel stands as a reminder that integration is not just possible, it is already underway. Across the vastness of Eurasia, a web of steel is redrawing the map of global trade. China to Europe, rail freight corridors, operating as a network since 2013, now move more than 500,000 containers each year, linking factories in eastern China to cities as far as Madrid, 13,000 kilometers away. These trains cut the journey from port to market by nearly 2 weeks compared to sea, delivering electronics, cars, and machinery in just 12 to 18 days. The Yiwu to Madrid route, one of the longest continuous rail lines on Earth, has become a symbol of this new overland Silk Road, with more than 15,000 trains running annually. The scale is staggering, but so is the leverage. Every border crossing, including Kazakhstan, Russia, Belarus, and Poland, brings customs checks and paperwork, yet the flow keeps growing, shifting more than $100 billion in goods each year. For shippers, the cost lands between air and ocean freight, offering a lifeline for time-sensitive cargo. For governments, these corridors are more than logistics. They are tools of influence, giving China and its Belt and Road partners a say in how goods, capital, and even policy move across continents. In a world where supply chains decide economic winners, the China to Europe rail network stands as a living experiment in infrastructure power, speeding up trade, reshaping alliances, and raising a new question: who truly owns the routes that define the future? Across all 10 megaprojects, one truth emerges: infrastructure is destiny. Each build redraws the map of energy, water, mobility, and trade, setting the stage for new winners and losers. The world's power isn't shifting by accident. It's being engineered kilometer by kilometer. These projects show that tomorrow's balance of influence will belong to those bold enough to build it. Which project do you think will change the most lives?